Thank you so much for joining us for the last panel of the day. So like Anne said, today we're here to talk about the cultural impact of fashion. And there are many ways to interpret this topic, but a few have come to mind as we've been going through this past week here at Berlin Fashion Week. Just this morning, I was speaking to the duo at Richard Weil about how they're trying to create fashion that sits outside of the conventional system for a customer who's not so dictated by trends and algorithms, but more by their own personal sense of style. Another interpretation is Kitschy Couture's show, which was really about the experience of growing up as a teenage immigrant here in Germany. And another example looks at with GmbH on a sort of more harsher end, the message that they have around human rights atrocities that are being committed in Gaza. But whether you're sitting on either ends of this scale, it's clear that whether it's the personal, the political, identity or impact, culture or community, fashion has a lot to say. And so do our four panelists, I hope. So without further ado, I will let each speaker introduce themselves.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Well, hi everyone. I'm Stavros Karelis. I'm the founder, creative and buying director of a multi-brand concept store in London that is called Machine A. I have been consulting for big companies on emerging talent, and I'm sitting in quite a few different committees in terms of emerging talent. I'm an LVMH prize expert. I'm sitting in the New Gen Committee of the British Fashion Council, which is the biggest committee for emerging talent in UK. And I'm very grateful to be like part of Berlin Fashion Week committee for the schedule of designers. So yeah, that's me.
Hi everyone, I'm Sonika. I am currently a social media and cultural strategist, also based in London. I also previously was part of the global fashion team at TikTok for a couple of years, so I know TikTok's a hot topic today, so excited to touch on that within the context of this conversation.
Hi, I'm Christian Schuller, photographer, and yeah, great being here.
Hi everyone, I'm Carlo. I work for eBay, or Bay. I'm responsible for strategic partnership management for eBay for the fashion category, mostly for the German market, but also a little bit for the European market. Really happy to be here and talk about circularity as well.
Thank you so much. So Stavros, I want to come to you first. We often talk about how fashion is a mirror to society.
Right.
And we talk about also life imitating art, not just the other way around, right? So from your perspective, how do you see designers reflecting on the world that we're living in within their collections?
Oh, I think it's such an integral part of who they are and what they do, what they're interested to say and what they're interested to comment on. I think it's probably one of the most essential parts into the communities that they are connected with, the communities that they represent and they are part of. There is a great sense of being unafraid, to share an opinion, to have an opinion, which leads, at least to me personally, it leads to an emotional connection with those designers and those brands. And I think this is a key aspect to everything because, of course, a product, being a great product, because this is the world we are in, is absolutely important. But that's not the only essential part at the moment, and have an emotional connection with something, anything that can cause you that feeling that you want to explore, you want to find out more, you want to be part of the storytelling, because a consumer is part of the designer, is part of the world of the designer, by looking at it, by being informed, by buying the product, by investing, especially when we talk about emerging designers and emerging talent overall, is that type of relationship and connection from the get-go of the brand. Further to this, and I think this was touched upon on the previous panel as well, which I think is something really, really important, is about honesty. I think it's very, very important at the moment, like for, again, the consumers, myself, definitely in the world of Machine A, to really know with whom you're dealing with, like what they believe, what they are into, what really they want to do with a brand and what they represent. I think that type of honesty is what consumers are looking and what they want to be connected with. We are almost at the closing part of Berlin Fashion Week, and what we experienced those 3 days has been an absolutely phenomenal situation. You commented upon a few designers, which was brilliant to see. But take the example of GmbH, which I read afterwards something that they said, the whole show was almost a feeling of they don't know how to feel and what to say in a period of time like this. And I thought that this expresses so many people's views and opinions, like on the subject. It's the same thing when I watched Marie Luder, another brilliant designer, German designer, that showcased a part of Berlin Fashion Week. And she had this moment in the show of kind of almost playing boxing, a model with this monster behind her. And of course, it can be interpreted in many ways. And it went viral everywhere, as a moment, that people kind of expressing something with it. You have people like Richard Bale, Handel Up. I'm feeling that I'm going to forget people,
so many good examples.
Yeah, but it's so many examples that it was brilliant because you see designers that they represent communities, and you see designers that they overall contribute to what we call culture, because fashion is about culture, and that shouldn't be forgotten in the whole process. But of course, having said that, and I'm going to conclude with this, is that as retail and also being part of fashion, of course, is very, very important, and I think it's great, when people have an opinion to express. Some other people are feeling a bit more introvert, and they want to hide the key messaging a bit lower, not be very vocal about it, and that's absolutely fine. But altogether, also the product and the fashion has to be good, to make altogether a good sense. So, yeah, that's what I feel.
Yeah, I think this topic around fashion as a vehicle for expression is really interesting, but also it would be remiss to assume that we're the only sort of industry that has this capacity to invoke self-expression. There's music, there's art, there's film, even gaming. But Christian, from your perspective, is there anything that fashion uniquely captures?
Unique capture, so much about theory and so much about it gets nearly unsexy after a while when you listen to all these talks, because there's so much technical elements and social and all these inputs. But in the very end of the day, if I narrow it down to the main thing for me, it's first of all, is it inspiring me, yes or no? Do I turn my head when somebody passes, or do I turn my head not? It's a very simple thing, because in the end of the day, every generation is expressing itself by, as you said, music or art or a main thing, fashion. And it is the main way how people can, with money, without money, it doesn't matter. You can express yourself. You go on the street and you are your own advertising tool of your personality or the own way to show yourself. And that is what was fascinating me from the beginning on about fashion. And that was also in the end the reason why I ended up as a fashion photographer, is I just see it from this point of view. Fashion is there to underline a personality of a human being, whatever this human being is, however you explain it, however you, from what side you're going to look at it. It is a human being, and it has some kind of fabric around, and that makes a kind of magic, and it is a magic for me. And it's a wonderful magic. And it is so fascinating for me that every century, magic is working it again and again. It's coming mostly from the young people, interesting thing, but it's coming from the youth. It always comes from the youth somehow. Maybe because they are
unafraid,
coming with new open eyes to the world, and it's like seeing the world first time, and they make their own interpretation. And maybe the older ones, maybe they made this interpretation already a couple of years ago, but it is something which is really a wonderful way of being able to be in charge of yourself without having anything else than yourself. And it is working again and again and again. And those people now from, again, let's stay quickly in the photography, the best photographers for me are those who are able to catch this moment of now. And it's always now. Whenever we are sitting, we're talking about now. When we come back here again, next year, in 5 years, it will be a then. This lady before, she was the future looker. It was great. And we don't know what it will be, but we can go backwards. And we have had all this discussion 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago. Sometimes read newsletter papers just by curiosity from 1975 or something like that. And you have to feel it's today. Young, intelligent people expressing themselves, talking about their problems, about their visions, about their hopes, about all these things. And fashion is the most wonderful way to show that.
Yeah,
I try to catch it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we might be biased, but I think the other thing that really stands out to me is that we all have to wear clothes, right? I mean, you don't have to buy a piece of art. You don't really have to listen to music. But everyone has to wear clothes. And so even if you're wearing a white T-shirt and jeans, if you bought that from Gap or Uniqlo, that says something different. It's about signaling who you are, which community or culture you belong to. But with that in mind, we talk often about how fashion is a vehicle for cultural storytelling. And Sonika, I'd love to hear from your perspective how you see fashion operating as a cultural bridge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly as you're saying, fashion is a universal language. It's an accessible art form that I think is often our first creative experimentation. And I think it's a way for us to learn more about ourselves, but also learn more about others. And to that point, I have been so excited recently observing this new wave of designers who are coming from mixed heritage or the diaspora or global citizens, whatever language you want to use. It just feels like there's this moment happening in fashion that I don't think is happening. Maybe it's happening in music, but I don't think it's happening in entertainment, where these designers are representing nuanced identities that are layered and interesting and really represent what it is to be from today. I think most of the world is from a mixed heritage, right? Designers like Priya Ahluwalia and Casablanca come to mind. And yeah, I think it's a way of people learning about cultures in a more nuanced way that isn't just representing a singular stereotyped identity. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely fashion is a cultural bridge and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. The other thing that I think we're seeing, aside from culture, is a lot of discussions around craftsmanship, and often that is connected to culture. But yeah, I think that's kind of being used as a way to develop the emotional connection established, like you were saying. So why do you think we're seeing this now, all the storytelling and kind of the marketing around craftsmanship, and how are brands of different sizes responding to this?
Yeah, I think there is a big shift, that is happening in the past, I guess, few years now. I mean, a bit more, but lately it's much more evident, in the past year or so, that you see all of a sudden the big, huge, humongous companies of this world, being very, very interested in actually design, the actual designers, the design codes, the craftsmanship, the making, and is, a lot of people think it's anti-commercial, but it's not really anti-commercial. But it's definitely, there is so much more interesting shift, and you see that also, to the emerging talent. I mean, the LVMH Prize, last year, if you see the winners of LVMH Prize, actually, with Hodakova and, and then you had Duran Latnik, and you had, and the third one is Standing Ground, right, Michael? So you see all of them, the key aspect of all of them is craftsmanship, is making, you see what they do, and it's all very handcrafted. I think it's very, very important because it really celebrates individuality, it really celebrates skills, and I think, people, and especially the consumer, wants to really invest into that at the moment. It's much more unique. It says it is about storytelling, and is something, that really has value for money, So I think that's why, people are really particularly interested into that. And yeah, it's that's what I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, you hit on a topic around signaling the value of a product, and I want to use that to segue to a discussion not only around signaling the value of a new product, but also of pre-owned products.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Carlo, from your perspective, how is eBay helping to normalize circularity in pre-owned products and really signaling that value?
Yeah, maybe starting talking about eBay in general, like not from the fashion perspective only. It was founded in America, and the first item sold, or at least offered, I don't even know if it got sold or not, but was a broken laser pointer. So a pre-used, not new item. So it's
Unbroken at that.
it's in our DNA.
Yeah.
We started basically selling not new items. So for us at eBay, selling more than 40% pre-owned or not new is nothing new to us. But talking about fashion, we have much more focus on that topic now, of course, because the society is more and more asking for it. And we try to enable not only consumers or private consumers, but also brands and retailers to rethink the entire industry. And also maybe important to mention is that we call it pre-loved, but pre-loved not only means pre-owned, it means everything that is not new, right? It can be, we have a lot of returns in the fashion industry. We have a lot of B-grade items. We have a lot of material that is not really sold as new. So it's not only always the pre-owned items when we talk about pre-loved. And we just want to be the platform that is enabling private people, but also the industry to have a platform to sell everything. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of the remarketing of pre-loved, like you say, is gone from something where it's the idea of like, oh, it's a discarded good and I'm buying it for cheap and it's not something that we value, to actually, oh, we're looking for like products that might have better craftsmanship or having a better, interesting story. Maybe it's an archive product. I mean, those are obviously maybe on the higher end. But I think around this discussion, it comes back to storytelling. But I mean, Sonico, kind of from your perspective, how do you see brands using social media to convey storytelling? So whether it's around some of the craftsmanship discussions that we've had or other things really, how do they strike that balance between building an audience online at the speed that they might need versus, you know, maybe negatively creating trends or anything like that?
Well, there's definitely an appetite for storytelling around fashion, whether that's pre-loved or young designers or legacy brands. People want to know more. I would say that I think it's an exciting time when it comes to social media because the landscape is becoming more fragmented. The average person uses around 6.3 is the average number of platforms each person uses every single day. So whilst I love TikTok, we all love TikTok, or maybe not all of us, there are other options out there. I would definitely say to everyone, look at Substack for fashion right now. There's a lot of exciting things happening and a lot of sales being driven, to be honest. And that speaks to, I would say, like, you've got to find your platform to tell your story. And whatever sort of creative you are, whether you are a documentary maker or you're okay talking to camera or you love the written form, there's definitely a platform that fits what you're trying to say. And I'd also say you don't need to be creating content for the masses unless your ambition is to be a mass brand. You should actually be striving to create content that is true to you and true to your potential audience. And yeah, just don't, I think a lot of the time I speak to young designers who are so caught up in going viral and following the latest trend, but that's not where you should be. Obviously, I know you need to have followers to maybe get the attention of buyers or get the attention of sponsors, but to really meet your consumer, just create the content that feels right to you. But feel free to disagree.
No. You're absolutely right. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right on this. Spot on.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the storytelling aspect, it's interesting. I was thinking about like brand storytelling, almost like it's communicating with your customer. And if you look at communication one-to-one, I think it's something like 98%, or I don't quote me on that stat, but it's a very high stat that's communicated non-verbally. And I think when it comes to marketing, a lot of that non-verbal communication is through the images, which is so important. But Christian, from a visual perspective, when you're creating an image that you're hoping has some sort of impact, whether it's the community impact that we're talking about, the storytelling, more the personal identity side, how do you actually create that image in a way that has that desired impact? And what are you most conscious of conveying? These are kind of the tricks of the trade, so.
So how I create the image which, in the end, people want to see.
Yeah, and like how do you convey that message
I mean,
visually?
at the end of the day, it's like obviously the key question when you start being a creator. I mean, on the side of creating pictures or films or fashion, you always have the desire that you create something that people want to see, have, use, wear, whatever. In the beginning, the best advice is try to copy the best way you can to get into it, and then on that way, try to find out who you are. And it's a long way, because that's the aim. The aim is to find your own language, to find your own language that you can put your very personal, your personality into what you're doing, that your result get in a way special. It sounds stupid, but it is like that, special, in a way that people see it and they say, oh, I know that. That's from, or that's special, that gives me something, that touched me in a way, even in the world of TikTok, even in a world where everybody gets so much help how to present yourself in the perfect way, that everybody gets it in the right way, with the right hashtag, with the right whatever, that it fits. Because at the end of the day, as we have so much help, even now with AI, we have even more help to be the best fitter of them all. So I'm a bit afraid that we all look the same in the end, because we get all the same advice. So the best you can do is that you still have to look in your inner, and it's kind of creating a building, but not in a classical way, like a many store building, like a skyscraper, which every store looks the same. It's more like creating a building where kids is painting something. You start somehow, and then it comes like that, and it goes like that, but in the end, you create something that hopefully people are reacting on, and there you are able to tell your message. That was complicated, I was saying it, but
yeah, it's kind of like philosophical in a way, right?
Yeah, but it is a bit like that, because it is not just taking it as a photographer, having a nice woman, a nice boy, putting it in front of a white wall and take a picture. If you do that in a good way, I'm very jealous. I can't do it better than others, so I don't go that way. So in the end, you're creating, it's like a painter who's looking for his own language, and I'm reacting on fashion. Fashion gives me a lot of input, so I'm like, the fashion is the big, the mothership, and I'm a little satellite flying around this mothership and following this mothership, because this mothership fashion gives me the direction, and we are reacting on it, and we are interpreting it. We get the fashion, and then we do something with it, and then we send it back, and we send it back into the craziness circle of our world.
Yeah. For you, is it more about impacting the individual or the collective?
It depends where we show it. I mean, it depends on the magazine, how many people are reading the magazine. It depends on how many people are watching at that moment my Insta story or my Insta picture. But in the end, yes, I mean, we have big egos. We want that everybody watches pictures. So for sure, we're making big billboards of our personality and saying, look at that picture. And that's my interpretation. And taking this humor. But in the end, we all here who is creating something must have a big ego, because if not, you shouldn't even try to start.
The other question I want to come to Carlo for is, we've talked a lot about community and used that word a lot, but from your perspective, what does meaningful community building in fashion actually look like?
Again, looking, yesterday, for example, we had Hikmet Züger over here on stage, right? Who's the founder of Soulbox and then Sonra. And he really worked closely together also with us, with eBay. We created a sneaker together. And when I first spoke to him, he told me, you know what I like about when I started using eBay, we had kind of a community. We built up a community all over the world. At that time, internet was still at the beginning, so it was not so easy to connect over Instagram or whatever, or TikTok. But he started the community just with a couple of people all over the world over fashion, right? So it's so great to see that over a platform that is originally not made for building up a community over a product, you can still build up the community, and it gives it a little bit more purpose. So we always also say, and I think you said it at the beginning, it's about also how you present or how you individual you can present something. This is so special, and what we always want to have is giving the community and the consumer and buyer side the possibility to be as individual as possible on our platform, and not just buy the product. So I don't know if that answers your question, but this came to my mind when you asked me about community. And maybe to that question, for me, community, or it starts already with two people, right? And that's also something great to find. It not always has to be a big community or a community with a lot of people. It can only be like random 2-3 people or around the world that have the same interests, share the same interests, and bringing them together, being a platform to bring people like this together and connect them, is a good feeling.
We only have a few more minutes left, but I want to close by returning to the topic of fashion's role in society. And we've talked about that in many different avenues, from storytelling to circularity to platforming emerging talent. But I'd like to end by asking a question to each of you. What does it mean for fashion to be a responsible cultural force?
Culture?
For fashion to be a responsible cultural force. Yeah.
I can maybe go. I think it's a big question, and the word responsible can be taken in the context of sustainability or diversity. I would say just in general, so I work across both fashion, but brands from lots of other categories, whether that's beauty, whether that's sports and entertainment, and I would say fashion on a high level leads and other industries follow. And I think when it comes to things like diversity, fashion needs to be way more ahead than where it is now, because I truly think if we get there, everyone else will follow, because fashion is the coolest and everybody wants to be as cool as fashion. So yeah.
I'm still thinking about it, but I can give it a go.
You had the notes.
You said it's such a huge topic to finish off with this, but I also think this is a great platform of freedom. You know, and freedom is in so many ways right now a very important aspect for many. You know, so I think it's a place where actually people can really express themselves. You know, in any mediums that they choose to work on, because fashion, of course, involves so many different mediums. Whether you're a designer, whether you're a photographer, whether you're any, on social media, etc. It's a place of freedom, and it's a place of self-expression, and it's a place. Definitely, there is always a good work to be done, but I think definitely has a lot of inclusivity and diversity that is going into it, more than a lot of other industries out there. Definitely can be much better and lead by example, and I think that and also is about pushing new ideas, because fashion always has been about new. New ideas doesn't mean necessarily a new product, but it might mean, new concepts, new ideas, even, the repurposed, reworked, pre-loved, it's a new concept. It wasn't as popular 20 years ago. We wouldn't think about this concept. So it's definitely an environment of a lot of new ideas and acceptance of a lot of people around, regardless of your background, who you are, what you do, etc. So that's the beauty of this world, of this industry, I think.
Do you have any final thoughts from either of you?
It's a tough question.
It is, yeah. It's a big topic.
I always want to connect it to eBay, but what I would want to also maybe food for thought for the audience, when we think about responsibility and fashion, it always comes to the topic of circularity, right? But we always or often blame the brands or the industry itself. And we all, or maybe not everyone, is buying pre-loved, but also think the other way around of selling it, right? So we often consume it already, which is really nice, but also look in your own wardrobe and see what is in there, because there's definitely one person in the world who maybe wants it and you don't need it anymore. And yeah, that would be maybe my ending.
Yeah. And Christian?
Yeah, with this big general question, maybe we can make it even more general. We learned in the last decades that most of the wonderful things in life we enjoy very much have a dark side. And we had to all learn that this topic of being responsible is not just this industry or that industry. It is a general thing we have to face. And as it is so big, this topic, I just can really say I have to start with myself and trying to learn to be responsible. Mm-hmm. And in the moment, we as a human, as an individual, learn, the more we learn to be responsible, the more we demand it from the people who give us whatever we want, the more they're going to react. Because in the end, I think industries are a reaction on our desires. So one of us has no big influence, but thousands of us have a big influence. And that's where I would say, yes, we have to start with our own. And the more we are, the more influence we have. And hopefully we can still enjoy all these wonderful things in a way as if there would be no tomorrow, but there is a tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that makes it a bit complicated.
Yeah, I think the point around responsibility requiring collaboration is a great one to end on. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
I wanted to say one thing, actually, like to the audience here. Sorry, I don't know, I want only one little thing. For the next days, if you got a bit of time, I really would tell you, to go and visit. Obviously, upstairs is incredible because you're going to see such incredible young talents and young designers, from PLGNS to so many others, that they're upstairs. But also the Berliner Salon. I don't know if you have read about it, seen it. Is in the Helmut Newton Foundation that Christiane Arp has curated. And really, I went today because unfortunately I missed the Monday day, because I wasn't in Berlin. But I went today to see it, and it's actually phenomenal. And it really, it's what is all these discussions about. It's always about emerging talent and emerging ideas and beautiful ideas. So yeah.